Yeah, the Voices of Region 1 podcast with LaShawn English. What up, Joe? What up, Joe? We build it informative, unifying the community. Let the love flow. What up, Joe? What up, Joe? What's up, Joe? What's up, Joe?
What up, dog? Our third episode of Voices of the Region, and we're glad you can join us today. Today is about leadership, the roles of leadership. And we got some great guests here today.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
Some fabulous presidents, some great vice president or a great vice president. So, yeah, we have a slew of people to talk to.
And I think people just don't understand the different roles and understand roles of leadership. And there's so many different roles in leadership that I think it was important that we brought leaders at the top to talk to our members and ask questions that they have. And don't forget, if you got a question, if you're on Facebook Live, Zoom, please make sure you get those questions in.
I just think it's important that there are so many people that don't know the connection. You know, they see these people, they talk to them here and there, but they just don't understand what they do or the importance of their job, and they just can't seem to connect it. So I think this was a really good episode to let them get to know who their leaders are and how personable they are.
Yeah, and I think it's also great because coming from Stellantis, both of us, Christ or whatever, and there's always a difference between TOP presidents, GM presidents, Ford president, and some of their roles and what they do. And I think that's so important. And then how they got there.
Exactly.
And how they got there.
Because if it's never explained to you, you really don't understand. Because I remember learning that from you, the difference, with the GM president and the Stellantis president is who wields all the power. So I think it's important that the members understand that so they know exactly who to go to when they have an issue.
And I also think that people don't understand also in my role, my new role now that I am, the president of the UAW roles is also different than the leadership role. So, sometimes we just got to make sure, educate our members.
Need that education. And hopefully by the end of this episode or this segment, they'll have a clear understanding when they go to work tomorrow, when they have an issue, who to go talk to.
And that's true. So we're going to take a quick break and we're going to bring our guests in here. So first off, I'm going to start with you, Casey. Tell them who you are, give them a little detail where you're from and everything.
So Casey Fiddler, president of UAW Local 51. This is my 9th year as president over Local 51. There's been a lot of changes over the years when we went from an engine plant to an assembly plant. I have a little over 30 years as a Stellantis employee. And like I said, the 9th year as president.
Have you held any other roles there?
I have. I was trustee for 2 terms, recording secretary, alternate committee man, alternate steward, many roles over the last 15 years.
Okay. And our next president over there is Dee. Go ahead and tell them who you are and tell them where you're from.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for having me first.
Welcome.
My name is Deairdre Jones, and I'm president of Local 2200, who represents Detroit Public Library. And a little bit of background, I'm president at Local 2200 for about 2.5 years now. Previous roles I've had was trustee, union steward. Previously, I come from 2071, which is Wayne State University, and I was chief union steward over there as well.
Okay, I'm going to start with you, Casey. So what made you decide that you wanted to be the president of your location?
So when I first started out, that wasn't one of my ultimate goals. Right? It was just to help out our members. There was members that I would talk to throughout the day, and it seemed like some members' voices weren't being heard. So I was being a spokesperson for a group of members that didn't feel like they were being represented. So I just grew from there.
Okay. Indeed, the same question. What made you decide to run?
I was kind of recruited.
It's always good to recruit. Remember that. Someone sees something in you you may not see in yourself.
Yes. So our former president got promoted to management, which was wonderful, for us to have a person on our side in management. And people were coming asking me if I was going to do it. And I had to make some good consideration for it because I don't take anything I do lightly. And of course, I knew the contracts because being a grievance handler and, a union store, you have to know it. and I'm not very quiet, despite me being a librarian. So after some consideration, I ran unopposed, so that worked out for my favor as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I have a question. So as a librarian, because see, this is the thing, people only think of us as auto here, and we have so many different sectors. So as a president, what is your role? Are you off the floor? What do you actually do day to day as being a president of a public sector?
So we are smaller locals. So I have a full-time job as a branch manager for my branch, and I'm the full-time president as well. So every day it's like I'm working 2 jobs at the same time. So for us, I'm also, because we are smaller, we have about 200 members. So I'm also the bargaining chair.
Okay.
So what that entails is I let everyone deal with their roles, though. If you have an issue, your first issue goes to your union steward. I had to learn how to do that, learn how to delegate. It was very important to get my people educated because I have a lot of new officers as well. So I'm very appreciative to the region opening up those opportunities to send our people to go up to Black Lake to get trained, as well as having the training here. So that after they got all leveled up, I let people work their areas. So I do manage our local, like make sure, the treasurer does the bills, but oversight for that, making sure we're compliant with everything, making sure if there's like level 3 grievances, if the people have been wrongfully terminated, kind of step in and direct our unit chairs. And that way we are amalgamated local. So we have like 4 different units, even though we're small, it's 4 different units working. So it's something to keep my branch running and our local running and being healthy at the same time. It's challenging, but it's rewarding at the same time.
So do you do the same things for the amalgamated locals also?
Yeah. Like everything falls back to me, fortunately. We've had quite a few retirements over the past few years, especially from the pandemic. So we're really doing a lot of rebuilding. So if there's a vacancy, I kind of step into that role until we get the vacancy filled.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So Casey, you have a lot of young leadership at your location, do you not?
I do. Yeah, we've just had elections.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. So we have 14 stewards. Okay, we have some new ones on, which we'll have you host a lot of trainings here at the region or at Black Lake at summer school, but also I have a education committee, and they also help train members as long as elected.
So what have you yourself personally, have you mentored them? What have you done with your newly stewards? And what were the challenges? Because I can say having a facility as big as yours, there had to be some challenges because you came up through the ranks and then getting some of your new stewards, and some of them had never been elected. So what has been some of the challenges? Because again, the question was, is this really the role of a president to do? Because I would say at GM, they don't really handle the day-to-day inside the facility, the GM president. But for you, what was your roles of helping and getting the leadership intact together?
So we start off with steward councils, right? So we do get the stewards as a group, along with the shop committee, and we do develop on the job, like, you're elected now.
Yeah.
All right. What do you need help with? Here's your packet. Because there's a lot of classes you can take to prepare yourself, but until you're out on the floor and dealing with those day-to-day issues and making sure that you address them with the supervisor and then HR, labor, and then getting the shop committee involved. So we do summarize as a group on that, and to see if they have everything they need to be a steward. We make sure that the newly elected reps will be going to the region training or Black Lake to get that initial training. Okay. Myself, I handle third step grievance meetings, myself and my vice president. We run the day-to-day at the local, but I have a solid team that helps me with that too.
And what is the team?
Recording secretary, financial secretary, vice president, and my shop committee, the day-to-day in the plant. They really, truly are hands-on the day-to-day in the plant.
Because some people assume that you're their boss, don't they?
Yes, they do.
For both of y'all, they assumed, and I think that's the biggest hiccup, I think, in this union, because you're the president. I have this problem a lot. you're dealing with other people who are elected just like you. So people think that you're their boss. In reality, I used to tell them, no, the members are your boss. So what are your choices? I mean, because you're basically kind of guiding them without being their boss, right?
Correct. We can give advice. We can't arbitrarily remove any rep, and ultimately, the reps are human too, right? We make mistakes. We try to guide them through that. Let's own our mistakes. Let's get it out there and let's try to fix it the best we can, and be honest with our members, right? That's the main thing, is listen, try to address their issues and offer feedback, and be honest with them, so that's what we try to do with, a lot of, we get a lot of calls. You got to remove it. No, there's a process for that. And ultimately it's the member's choice.
Yeah. I think I experienced that a lot when I was the president, that people just assume, like, you're the boss. Call me. They want me to fix it. Want me to take it. And I'm like, listen, every person has a district. You're elected by your people. You don't go in people's districts and stuff. Like you said, it's always about guidance, right? Like I said, I think people just don't realize that's not your job. I mean, let's be honest.
When they think they know better, like, so well, let's start there. So I said, calm down. We want to get them calm, employ a little bit of customer service and explain to them what the process is, and then redirect, and then tell them what the next steps is. So if this person's not working, you could go to the unit chair. If that's not working, go to recording secretary, and then we'll get involved at another level. Usually I can calm things down if they know. You can't calm down every situation. Some people, it was so heated, even amongst librarians. And quite often with our skilled trades, that it was like, oh no, if I don't step in, it's going to be a snowstorm.
Now, people are already looking like, when you said skilled trades, like, what are you, they like, wait a minute, you're a librarian. What skilled trades got to do with it?
We do have skilled trades at the library. You got to think about it. We have about 20 some odd buildings in the city of Detroit that need operation. So they have internal employees that work on that, from plumbers, electricians, carpenters, general tradesmen that are coming to do a variety of things that they don't have a journeyman card, so they still have people working and stuff, locksmiths. And so we negotiate for them too. That's one of the units there. So it's a very unique type of situation I am, because the same kind of tactics that I could use to discuss or remedy situations with skilled trades, it won't work with librarians. So you have to...
So librarians are not just this quiet person about it.
I know where people are always surprised to find that I'm a librarian. Those that know me. Quiet is not, I'm not the shush librarian. In fact, I have like art classes and dance classes at my branch. Binky showings, all kinds of stuff. Because it's a gamut of information, and art is really important. Art is represented in a lot of different areas. And if you even look at a lot of our older buildings in Detroit Public Library, they're really artistic and architecturally deep, and it has a lot of history with it. So you have to use a lot of different carrots. So I use those same type of carrots when dealing with my members as well. First, find a common ground. Especially because usually if they're coming to you, they're angry. It's not like, I just want to see how your day is going, which will be lovely. But usually it's a problem. It's something has gone wrong, or some kind of injustice or perceived injustice has occurred. So you want to get them see what the actual problem is. And, get my team involved. And I have a great team as well. That's really important. I definitely couldn't do anything and make any kind of inroads without my team behind me. And and the good thing with librarians is they watch the news all the time. They're watching what's going on. So even if I need like a mental break to just like take a break from all of the information, I have some information going for something that has a hit that's coming now. We're fortunate enough not to be too much harmed by the current federal administration with their big slash to library funding, because Detroit Public Library gets their funding from the city, and the city is passed by the people of the city, and our millage passed by about 88% last year.
Wow, that's good.
So that
So you guys can't strike though. People don't realize.
no, we can't strike.
So there's a difference between the big three and
Yeah,
librarians.
we cannot strike. Because this is public, if there's measures that we have to take, we love to employ, the people, our members who live in the city. Your local is in the city. You have a right to come to the library wear any kind of T-shirt you want if it comes to that, with our rights and our demands and our things that we may have an inroads in. They can't stop you from walking through the library with that on. And that would be tactics that we would use if it comes to that. Hopefully it doesn't.
Okay.
But that's the solidarity that we would need. You walking through the library, like if it's too hot in here, the AC is not working, but you want us to work in these conditions. You have a library, why are my union brothers working in this hot heat? It's 95 degrees in here. Why?
Okay. So that's a way to march on. How would you march down on the boss then? Casey said she brought that up. I mean, how do we in the big three do things without actually, because again, you hear people complaining when it's too hot in here, they don't have water. What are some of the things that you do to try to combat that?
So we
as a
first
president?
get our health and safety department involved. Okay, we have the grievance procedure, and then we have informational pickets we can use too. But health and safety grievances usually wake up management pretty good, right? Because those are strikeable grievances. Okay, and then we would do marches also.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a 5-minute break here. We're going to bring our VP up next. So don't go too far because we'll be back got questions from members for you guys.
Okay.
So we're going to bring the VP up and so thank you.
All right, thank you, Director.
And we have with us today Jeff Dooley.
How are you?
He is from Ford 228. I got to talk to the other two presidents because I think they forgot to say exactly what location. No, they did, didn't they?
They did.
They did?
Yeah.
Okay, well, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Jeff Dooley. I'm Vice President of UAW Local 228. We're the Ford Sterling Axle Building up at 17 and Mound. I've been there for 27 years, and I've been Vice President for about 3 years. Just started my second term about 30 days ago.
Okay.
So,
Have you been in any other roles? This is your first time?
no, actually, I have over the years. Prior to this, I was part of the quality team. That was like an appointed spot, quality operating systems coordinator. So a lot of auditing and coordinating with the bosses and the workers just to keep everything up to par. In the past, I've been a trustee. In the very beginning, I was executive board member at large. And then prior to that, of course, standing committees, developmental advisory committee, which I really, really enjoyed. Sort of relates years later to the things I'm doing now, actually. And in the very, very, very beginning, just volunteering, setting up, tearing down, just being there when my union needed me to be there. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
Getting involved. That's what you hear this, getting involved. Because the union is,
the union is strong.
but the union is you. Everybody is the union.
Yes.
Because I think sometimes our membership look at, because you don't have to have a leadership role to actually be getting involved in this union.
Absolutely not. And I appreciate you saying that, because I've even said that before to people, that you don't have to be elected, appointed, anything to be a leader. If you just want to come to work and your life is working and then going home to your family, but while you're at work, you look out for the people around you on the line, so to speak, you're a leader. Whether it's on safety or just advising people how to do stuff properly, you can be a leader at any level. And I don't even like to put level on it, because I know you feel like I do. We're all right here. We're all the same, right in the middle. So, yeah, you can be a leader in many, many ways.
Yes. And then we also are joined by Shantae, who's also was the vice president also. Shout out to the vice president.
But yeah, I mean, being a vice president it could be a little different. And you and Jeff, I'm sure you've had this where people feel like the vice president's role is kind of menial. They really don't do anything. But that's really not true. And the important thing about the role of the vice president is, again, I say this to the director a lot of times, be tactful. You have to be careful when you go to elect the vice president, because that person
That's true.
could end up being your president, because things happen. Your president gets pulled to staff. the president may just resign, and that person will have to step. There's not an election because there are so many people think there's going to be an election. There's not an election, and the vice president, has to step up and be ready. So it's not a job where you just coast for 3 years or however long your term is. You actually do put in work and do things. First, like in my case, I handle third step grievances. So, that's a huge thing. And I bothered the director a lot when she was president, because it's like you have to learn really quick. And so it's not just a country club of job. You were.
You made a good point, because I think it doesn't matter which sector you in a UAW. That vice president, and it's like you said, I think people don't realize that it's just as important as the president, because that person could be the president. And it doesn't matter. That's one of the things that doesn't change. It is automatic. It may be different things. We're going to see what you do as the vice president. It may be different, but at the end of the day, per the Constitution says, whatever something happens, you're to replace the president. And no election, no nothing is automatic. And people are still shocked by that, because they were like, hey, why there's no election? Why does this happening? It's in the Constitution.
The president could get sick. I mean,
yes,
anything could happen. You could be president for a week, 2 weeks, a whole year, because the president has to step out. But the vice president has to be ready. So, I mean, I think it's, like you said, it's just as important as being the president.
Jeff, what do you do as the vice president day to day?
So day to day, well, first, could I just comment on?
No, go ahead, do whatever you want to do.
Well, how you said maybe people think the vice president's sort of like an easy ride or not so much to do. And we did reference the Constitution. And when you look in there, that job description compared to the president or even recording secretary, is basically 2 sentences. It may even only be one. And to sum it up, you're basically at the beck and call of your president, which could be so many things.
Right. It's what the president needs. People don't realize it. And that's all the way up. You're vice president, but it's basically what the president needs you to do. And the president has authority to give you more responsibility, take responsibility. But at the end of the day, you are the vice president.
Yeah, don't let that one sentence be deceiving when you read the Constitution.
Right.
It could be a couple paragraphs. But like on the daily, so I realize there's quite a bit of difference between like Sterling and Ford officials sometimes. So I don't really deal so much with any of the activity on the floor as far as grievances and such. Now at my particular building, I do rep like the cleaning company that's in there, and then 2 of the small sorting companies that are in there.
So kind of describe what that is, so those listeners. So your location is
So we're
amalgamated, right?
We are amalgamated. So we on the amalgamation, we have the Sterling axle plant, of course, and then we actually have the only Ford dealership in Michigan that is organized, and that's Love Ford over at 11 Mile and Woodward. That's probably about 15 years ago now that we were able to organize them. And that was a super battle of, dealing with corporations is hard enough sometimes. But when you go to a dealership level, a lot of times it's family owned, and they will sort of even take like, oh, you're trying to intrude on my family owned business, for us just to support the workers, which they well deserve. But they take it sort of personal. They might fight even a little bit harder back than like the corporations do. We have the local credit union, which is actually located right next door to our local at 17 and Mound. We have the tellers over there. And then we have the, like I mentioned, the 3 smaller companies that are inside the cleaners. And then we have 2 parts sorters for like incoming quality. So that stuff is all handled if there's an issue from a vendor. So when stuff gets line side, it's already been, checked for quality 100%, no issues. And I really enjoy my job. I mean, I can't lie, as far as being like a rep, sort of like committee man style. Probably not really.
I want you to explain something, because I think explain to the listeners the difference of how y'all organization is at Ford, because we did hear from Stellantis. But I mean, so just give a description of the leadership that's on the floor and how it goes, just a little bit.
So inside our building, of course, inside the factory, we have a chairman, and then we have 2 plant committee people, and then of course we have our list. I believe it's 13 of committeemen. I know Stellantis says stewards. We have a committeeman and alter committeemen. And then we have our team that's working on other stuff such as safety, ergonomics, Of course, like getting our tradespeople trained and when the apprentices come in. So we have people in place just to keep all the wheels turning,
Right.
everything happen that needs to
The
happen.
reason I said that because we just want to make sure our listeners know the difference. That's why,
Yeah.
it's important that people know. But go ahead and finish. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, it's totally good. It's totally good. So vice president for me, straight across the street, coincidentally, is our local. But it's a lot of interaction with the community itself, which I really enjoy because I think it's very, very important just to let people know that we are the UAW and we do have good jobs, thanks to, the union. And, we'd like to give back. We'd like to help where people need help, whether it's veterans or anything, child related, women's issues, so many more things. So I really enjoy the interaction with, the community leaders that we're building relationships with. Of course, I'm at the beck and call, we'll say one more time, of the president, which that could lead to anything, any day at any moment. A lot of times you'll come in, you have a plan how your day is going to go. Yeah, you could throw that out the window sometimes and deal with what is on the other end of the phone line when the phone rings, of course. I personally deal with like all the standing committees.
Okay.
And we're all aware of our standing committees and all the good work they do. I'm a little nervous.
That's okay.
I went blank.
And
It's like I'm a little
funny
nervous.
because I'm gonna say and you're right, you're at the beckoning of the president. And at my local, when I was the president, I did leave my vice president to be the chair of all my standing committee.
Right.
Because that was, like you said, it's a very important role that we were doing that.
A very important role and a lot within itself. We have 11 standing committees there. So essentially,
Are they all active?
we have 5 that are very, very strong. It is nobody's fault. It's just
No.
the things cycle through. So sometimes you have people on certain committees with high seniority or a lot of experience, and maybe they retire or maybe they go on to other things. So sometimes like sports teams, you have, essentially like a rebuilding year. We do have many of our committees are very strong. I don't really want to say them instead of the others. They know I give them credit because I'm very grateful for everything they do. And we're focusing on the rest to get them on a regular active a schedule as far as doing things, whether it's in the community or whether it's for educational purposes for everybody inside the plant. Because as we know, not everybody comes to all the union meetings. And that is, of course, for us in particular, a place to receive all your pertinent information that you can take back and let your friends on the floor know.
I must say something about standing committees. People don't realize it. I'm going to say it into the mic here. Standing committees are so important. And it's one of the things that they're the leg of the union. And they're the person who helped build the union and build the activities. And that is a great place to get started in any union. I mean, like we did talk about, and like how you said, you don't have to be a leader, but the standing committee does teach you to learn about the the union itself. And their job is like, people don't realize it's only so many people. I think you only name maybe 25 people, maybe be total in actual leadership roles. But then you have over 3,000 members. So people don't, so it's so important whether some of them are active or not as a vice president, and getting them the ones that are active and making sure they're engaged, even if it's a little bit engagement, is always beneficial to our members.
Absolutely.
So I commend you for that. It does, like I said, y'all do have this nice big Dooley bowling thing. So you're doing things over there.
So that's one of our community service things that we do. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's nice. So, of course, some of the newer people think that's me, the name, right? Number one is Local 228 is who's doing it, of course. It is in honor of my uncle Dave Dooley, who was a plant chairman for multiple terms, and prior to that, our health and safety guy for a decade plus. So when he passed away, that event was brought on by my sister Sonia Jenkins Cadell. And she started that off. So the first couple of years, I'll make it quick. I'm sorry. First couple of years, I went and enjoyed it with my family because we were honored. We take up the first 6 or 8 lanes of all Dooley family, and it was wonderful. And then after 4 or 5 years, I was like, oh my gosh, Sonia does so much work for this event. And of course, all the money goes to charity. So I started not bowling and watching and just helping as back in volunteer mode. And then just recently in the last year or two, she moved on to do other things like she always does. We all know her. And I've taken it over myself, which has been even more eye-opening. It takes a lot to put together a few hundred people and to pull in a charity and, do something good for the community. This year, I see my cue. We did it for foster kids. In the past, we've done it for veterans. We're 13 years strong. We've done many different causes, and I'm just happy that it's called what it's called, and happy to be there every year doing it. Actually, yeah. So sorry.
No, don't worry about it. I have a question for both of y'all because it's a VP. You said you love being the VP.
I do.
And what is probably the biggest reward that you have? First, I should say, have you ran a union meeting yourself yet?
A few times, yes.
Okay.
Our president gets to go on vacation with his family one time per year only. And
how was that? And how was the film? Were you ready? Were you nervous? What was it?
So I was okay at the podium. We do have a nice turnout for our union meetings. But it definitely, I felt the difference in the role immediately from running the meeting to just reciting a report at the meeting.
Right.
Yeah. So so it's been 2 years, the same time every year that I've done that, and it's quite a difference. The president's job is a big job.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
My phone doesn't stop, so I know his phone doesn't.
They know.
Yeah.
And Shantae, what would you say?
I don't recall running a union meeting. I know I ran, I believe, a couple executive board meetings. So, it was pretty smooth, pretty quick. I'm straight to the point. Let's get this done. I think the most rewarding thing for me as a vice president was just being able to be on the floor and be there for the people. I can remember getting the 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning phone calls. And that's another thing people don't realize as a vice president. You may only sit in the office of the vice president 2 or 3 days a week, but you're a vice president 7 days a week, 24 hours. So for me, I answered all those calls. If the member was in distress at 3 a.m, yes, I got up and I went in the plant. So for me, it was just being there to support the membership in whatever capacity.
And that's something that most people don't. Some VPs are full-time and some VPs are only part-times and some don't even come off the floor at all. So again, I want to thank you.
Thank you.
I will have you back also, but thank you guys. So I got my 2 presidents here. They look a little relaxed, don't they? Look at that. I don't know. Casey got the little mad look.
No, I'm not mad. I'm
teasing. You got to have fun. I'm sorry. That's what this is about. So we did have some questions that came in from our members. And I'm going to start off with the first question. And this one was from Michelle. Her name is Michelle Nasky. And it's not really geared towards you guys, but I'm going to frame it because I think I understand what she said. So she said in 2010 and 11, the E-Board of Local 869 said that adding a 2-tier committee at the local will be too divisional. And her question was, isn't the retirees committee the same things for legacy employees? So I'm going to start off with you, Casey. How would you answer this young lady?
Maybe not name it as 2-tier committee. Maybe new member committee or something of that nature. So that way it doesn't drive 2-tier versus traditional, because we all want to be the same at the end of our contracts, right? Get paid the same for the same amount of work that we do. But I would sort of name it something different.
And what about you?
Yes, same thing, because we have a retiree committee as well. And our retiree committees, they're really instrumental in, one, keeping us abreast of things that we may not know, because a lot of them have a lot of community connections. So, yeah, I would say the way that that's worded, if I'm understanding it right, if you don't want to have anything introduced to break up our solidarity.
That's true.
We have enough things that we fight and battle with a lot of bad information, and we don't need anything new. So if you have instead of asking for a new committee, maybe come up with a solution to bring to your leadership. And hopefully they'll be open enough to hear. Because if you see the problem, maybe you're the person to devise the solution for the problem. Come up, do some little bit of research and see what you can come up with to see if you can have a viable answer, or even just to start to get the conversation going. Because just having a committee in itself is not necessarily the answer to what is the problem, what is driving why you're asking this question. Let's get to the root of what the issue really is.
Great answer. Because when I got here, I think I started. It used to be called members development. And then it was new members, and then we changed it because it's like it was new members felt you had to be young or old,
Right.
and we had so many different people that came in in progression workers. There are now, and it was no age, so it's like we said, okay, want to bring in the members development. We changed it to developing members so we can develop the members. So, but both a great answer from both of y'all. Okay, I got a question from Christian from Local 228.
Okay.
So she said, Kristen Graham. She said, how can we better engage members who feel disconnected from the union? Okay.
I'll start off. Have some activities that interest members that aren't on the traditional activities like basketball or softball. I see you guys have a kickball.
Yes.
Bocce ball you also have here. So different activities that would engage members maybe that don't play the traditional sports. Try to get them introduced to some of the standing committees. You mentioned that earlier. That's a great way to start.
Mhm.
They run a lot of activities for the local on the local's behalf. So that's just have different activities to engage members that like different kind of activities.
Good answer. So this question will be for you, Dee. This is also from Christian. What advice over your entire career made the biggest impact in your life?
The advice was really be in charge of your own destiny. And that was good advice to me because how I became involved in a union, I had got wrongfully terminated.
Wow.
From a previous position. And the world is funny. And they treat people with respect. So my current servicing rep here at the region was my former president.
Okay.
And I gave him the business. I was furious. I had just had surgery. I had tube in my arm, and they talk about I didn't show up for work, and I had approved FMLA. And they said I was transferred, and I wasn't. And they did not follow the contract. And he challenged me to say to know the contract, but I did. I knew the contract. And so when he kept challenging me to represent, and actually that's how I became a union steward because my person was not, my grievance was about to time out. That's why I was giving him the business. So I had 4 children in college at the time, so I can't afford for anything to time my office. And so being in charge of my destiny meant I had to be willing to go to bat. What I wanted to hold someone else accountable for, I had to be accountable myself. And so he taught me the ropes and not just to come storm Solidarity House or Region 1, the Wayne State at the time. And I therefore was able, I won my case and I progressed. And I was able to take charge of not just being a victim of my destiny and then not just being angry at everyone in the world, not just doing that. I did have the authority to follow the contract. I just didn't have the tools. So I needed to be humble enough to get directions from people who had the tools and had a listening ear as well.
Wow, the tools. I like to hear that one. So this one's for you, Casey. This is from Stephanie Epps. She don't have a location. Okay. So one of the concerns I have as a member is the lack of education on the national, local agreements, guidelines, and membership protocol. How do we create a more educated educated culture within our locals, our region, and our membership?
So as far as national contract and so there's classes that will teach that will break the contract down and through the region, actually through conferences at Black Lake through the education department, and then the locals can bring that back home and have the classes at their local contract interpretation class. I believe you guys have them here too.
We do.
So that's one way. And then if a member needs a specific issue, you have a meeting on it, with their steward committee, make sure we have the right intent of that language from the national department and work one-on-one with that member if they don't understand the issue. But you have to have classes locally it's one way to do it locally that will help encourage members to get the right education.
Good answer. Because I was looking at her question because we are offering a lot of language. I do hear that, when they're talking about national and local agreements, but it's going to start to have to go to your union meeting and asking these questions. Also.
Yes. Yeah.
There's a lot of things that are available that we're putting out there. And I think it's very, you're absolutely right when you said, getting everyone together, hearing the concerns, we got to teach. Education is so important.
There's a U of M at Dearborn.
Yeah.
They have classes also. But the protocol on how to write demands for local or national language, you have to go over those at the time that it's time to present those demands.
Yeah.
So locally, we have to do our role to educate our members on how to fill those out.
And I'll say this, we are going to be offering how to write local demands and national demands here at the region. That is one of the things that we're really striving for, to making sure, because again, I understand that a lot of the leaders have so many things that are going on that, they're so busy. They're busy and to take that time or sometimes to gather all these classes together. You only may get 2 or 3 people show up. So having it at the region, which we're fortunate because we have a region right here located, centrally located, not like other regions. And we try to also enhance classes that you guys as president tell me that we need and things like that. So I think with this class is something that we will be offering. We're going to have closing remarks from our presidents. Casey, would you like to give us a closing remark, something that you think that we missed or you think that our membership should hear?
So, as a member, get involved. Help support your local leadership, your stewards, your committee persons, your leadership in the local. The members ultimately make us better. Okay, they drive us to get better. And we're far from perfect. We may make some mistakes, but we'll listen to you. We'll follow back up with you and give you a good answer. But one thing to always remember: support your local, get active, and if you need any help locally, please come to the Union Hall or reach out to your steward, committee person, and we will get back to you.
Okay, indeed. Closing remarks.
Closing remarks, the best thing I say is get involved as well, because you can't make complaints unless you're willing to put your hand to the wheel as well. This is your destiny. This contract is your life. It guides your life. And the best way to be a part of that is to be your own delegate as well. And if joining standing committees was excellent, that Director English has said earlier, that is the best way to get involved. One, because you can see how things operate. And the best way to be empathetic and even grow and even to learn is to get involved. Get involved in the education committee. Then you can educate yourself and educate others on how the things actually work.
Vice President Jeff, you got any closing remarks for us?
So closing remarks today, of course, all of us want to grow our membership. It's not always about numbers as far as growing, but the education part is growing too. So growing our knowledge, of course, coming to the meetings, volunteering, also from hearing different experiences of conveying the proper answer on the floor. It's hard sometimes. At our particular building, almost 2,200 people. Casey's, they're even bigger. So for general membership, give leadership time to bring you the proper answers, and please share those proper answers. But all in all, like for a final message, so to speak, I guess, we're the UAW. We're blue collar, we're the labor movement. We are, you are, he are back here. Everybody on the floor, we are like the labor movement. So we're all we got,
Yes.
Which is not like a negative statement, but we are us. Like, if everybody, this isn't my saying, this was said to me by a past president who also said it wasn't his saying. It was said to somebody above him when he was getting involved and coming up. And I just said it recently. But if we all do a little bit, we can accomplish a lot. And it's a real thing because there's thousands of us. And many things we do takes more than 3 or 5 people, or sometimes it takes even more than 50 people. Sometimes they think I'm exaggerating. We need 150 people to show up for this organizing drive. I say 150 because I know we really want 70. but we really want 150.
150, right.
So if you ever have time to give back a little bit, please give back to your union, because that's what you're used there for. You are the union. I'm not. You are the director. You are not. We are.
Yes.
From the job setters to the 3-month person, all the way up to some of the people that have 40 years in. So it's all about us, and we got to make of it what we will. And we are strong right now. We all know that union appreciation, so to speak, is at a higher level than it has been in decades, which I think is wonderful because, I'm just a high school guy. I landed a good job.
Yeah.
I've been there 25 plus years. Me and my wife, we get to have some fun in life because I've had a good job for so long, and eventually life turns around. At 5 years, I'm like, this is great. At 10 years, I'm like, I have a little more money. And now it's all these years later, and we get the vacation and stuff like everybody deserves to do. Work hard, play hard. We all deserve it, but it will take all of us to keep that going. Because as we know, some of the same fights that we're dealing with now are some of the same issues and same fights that were going on 40 years ago. Yeah. So I know I'm there to fight. I know you're there to fight. The presidents, the general membership, we're strong. Let's keep moving forward. I believe we will succeed, and we will keep the middle class strong.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
First off, I want to say thank you to all my listeners who are listening today. I hope you really, really appreciate the show. I hope you continue to be tuning in to Voices of Region. Oh my goodness, did I just say this? It's Voices of Region 1. I hope you continue to do that. And I definitely want to thank my guests. Thank you guys so much for coming today on a Sunday and spending some time and making sure to educate our members. I really think that those closing remarks were wonderful. It was some great things. I hope people listen because some of our core things that we believe in, livable wages, healthcare, retirement, and a work-life balance.
Absolutely.
And that's all possible by being in a union and in the labor movement. Before I leave, somebody's phone dropped out on me, but we have lots of education classes here. Please check out UAW Region 1 website, UAW Region 1 Facebook page, and also go on our little new page that we got, Voices of Region 1. But we got a lot of training going on here that's coming up. We got some steward training. We are tailoring these classes for different sectors. We have one of them is IPS, which is independent parts, just for those. We're not just focusing here on the big three. One thing about the region that I stress that and I remember someone here before I close out who told me at their very first president meeting, she felt they were not heard, and hopefully they have been heard. And we're making sure that every member, down to the dog catchers that is represented by UAW Region 1, is getting heard. So thank you again from the bottom of my heart. What up, though, Region 1? Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, the Voices of Region 1 podcast with LaShawn English. What up, though? What up, though? We build an informative, unifying a community. Let the love flow.